We're going to add some resist, and by doing that, there's a couple different things you can use. I have some masking fluid here.
Okay.
I like it. It's a little thinner than some of the other resist, but it has a quick drying time. So that's my resist of choice, but you can use the rubber cement as well. It's just going to go on a little bit thicker and take a little bit longer to dry. And after we get this on, we're going to let it dry and come back and do something over it before we remove it to get some cool negative spaces. I like to apply it in a really kind of random freeform way. And one of the things I wanted to show you first, and again, you could sketch something on it, you could go so far as to draw a whole shape, anything. There's no limits to what you can do with it. But one of the effects I really like is to dip your brush and then drip it onto the paper. And you'll get teeny tiny circles. And when we remove those later, they might not be big enough to fill with marks, but you'll get some really cool little negative dots, and they dry pretty quickly.
I'm always a fan of splattering
Me
things.
too. So then if I wanted some bigger marks, I would load, I'm using a small brush, you can see, and that's just so I don't overload. And I like to just press it onto the paper.
Okay.
Because what I'm doing is I'm getting a decent size pool of the resist, but I'm kind of thinning it out a little by doing that so that I don't end up with a ton of drying time.
Okay. And you do it in a couple of spots.
Absolutely. Move around, and you know I'm a fan of going right off the page, so I would take it off the page on the edges a little bit too. Okay, so are your layers of stenciling all dry?
Oh yeah.
Okay. And they'll feel a little tacky from the resist. So now we're going to go ahead and look for those negative spaces that we talked about. And in order to do that, you're kind of going to have to feel where your resist is. Sometimes if you hold it at an angle and look in the light, it will have more of a sheen to it. And you're going to get it started by just gently rolling and rubbing the resist. Sometimes you can use a tweezer, but it should, once you get a piece pulled, you can see it should grab any parts that are connected and begin pulling them off. And look at the color that's going to come underneath.
Oh yeah.
So we're going to start revealing all of those layers we covered up. Now a minute ago, this is one of those hot mess corners we talked about. And now that that red is popping through, I really love it.
Yeah, so do I.
So just kind of feel your way around for all that resist. And if it's a really thin layer, you're going to find that it's going to be a little more tricky to remove, but that's okay. You can just work at it slowly, or like I said, grab a tweezer. There you go. And pull it off. And look at all those colors popping back out through. If you get an area that has a lot of those little dots too, you can come in with some very fine grit sandpaper, like a garnet. You would have to use it very gently because it will remove some of the sheen and top layers of your other paints. But if you're struggling with a certain area of resist, that will work. And it'll just pull right off.
I'm kind of liking this. I really like where that green gold is popping through from the underneath
And that's
layer.
the thing, like this might seem a little bare up here now, but we wanted those negative spaces to go over with all of the pens and pencils and crayons and that sort of thing. So you really needed to get back down to that ground foundation in order for those tools to work.